Welcome to the deep dive. We are here to process complex information, extract the practical steps, and really hand you the knowledge that genuinely moves the needle for you.
Yeah.
And today, we're diving into a mission that is highly practical. We're figuring out the most efficient way to use these new AI coding agents to build real web apps.
Yeah, functional web apps, not just demos.
Exactly. We're moving past the glossy stuff and focusing on systems that actually work without, burning through all of your credits.
And that idea of efficiency is really the core of our source material today. We're looking at the 20th issue of the Thinking in Public Work Journal by Alperin.
Right.
And it's a framework that's specifically designed to help people make that jump from simple static pages to these really complex dynamic systems.
This is a huge jump.
It is. We're talking about apps that need a login, that have to handle data, manage different users,
Yeah.
all the stuff that comes with that.
Yeah, this is the necessary shift, right? Our last deep dive was more about getting clean, static code. Now it's about complexity user flows, data differences, permissions.
Maybe even payments or Teams functionality.
We're really talking about the difference between a website and an actual product.
Exactly. And when you make that leap, the journal points out the biggest trap that you're almost guaranteed to fall into with these AI tools.
The illusion of progress.
Yes, the illusion of progress. You get fooled because these agents are just so good at generating beautiful screens.
Oh, unbelievably good.
Polished dashboards, great-looking components. It all happens so fast that it's just really easy to think you're like 90% done.
Right.
But the system underneath might be completely hollow.
It's such an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
You prompt for a dashboard, it spits out something that looks like $1 million, and you get that rush.
You feel like a genius.
Yeah, and then you click the save button,
Yeah.
and nothing. Or worse, it just fails silently, and you have no idea why.
That's the loop. That's the trap. The second you try to polish that good-looking UI, something else breaks, and you're just debugging forever. You're wasting credits. You're wasting time.
Which brings us to the first really crucial mindset change that the journal talks about. Don't start with a product to sell.
Right. That's so much pressure.
Instead, you start with something simpler,
Yeah.
a system that works.
I love this because it's both a practical and a psychological hack. The barrier to building is so low now, but the pressure to launch a huge sauce is still massive.
So you build something for yourself first.
Yeah, an internal tool, a little operational dashboard, something that just removes a bit of friction in your own workflow. You instantly validate the tool and prove the concept.
But I have to push back a little on that. If you build an internal tool first, isn't there a risk that it's, ugly, and that you're kind of locked into an architecture that's hard to make customer-facing later?
That's a fair point, but it's really about sequencing. The fastest way to create actual value with tools like, Lovable or Bolt.new is to solve a real problem first.
If you solve it for yourself, you've got a working, robust system. The pressure of selling is gone. You can always bolt on a beautiful UI later. But the reverse is not true. No amount of polish can save a system that doesn't actually work.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So if the goal is functionality, then design is actually a distraction at the beginning.
A dangerous distraction.
Yeah.
The hard part isn't looking good. It's working correctly.
So how do we do that? What's the workflow?
There's a really clean 3-step order that the journal lays out, and following it will save you so much time and, so many credits. Step 1, make the core functions work. The happy path, right?
Okay.
Get your basic user stuff online, sign up, log in, then the database fundamentals.
Yeah.
Create, list, update, and delete.
You're just building the plumbing first.
Exactly. And only when that plumbing is tested and working do you go to step 2, making the failure states work.
This is where everyone gives up.
This is it. You need proper loading states, what to show when there's no data, clear error messages, and critically handling for unauthorized access. And then, and only then.
Only after all of that is rock solid do you even think about step 3. Improving the design, the spacing, the colors, the whole visual language.
And the journal has that classic nightmare scenario, right? You skip the steps, the UI looks amazing, but you hit save and nothing.
The request just hangs, so you go back and tweak the UI because it's what you can see. And while you're doing that, you break something that was maybe half working, and now you're totally lost.
You're in the visual debt trap.
That's a great way to put it. The beautiful UI is a liability until the core is proven.
So to build that core correctly, you need absolute clarity from the very beginning, which leads to this first 15-minute strategy, a concepts chat and a tiny plan.
Yeah, what I found so interesting here was using the AI not just to code, but to standardize your own thinking first.
It's a great meta hack.
It is. It reduces the intimidation factor, especially if you're not a traditional developer.
And the prompt is so simple. It's basically explain API, database, front-end, back-end, and webhook to me like I'm 5. And then give me a simple example.
It forces you to mentally map out the pieces before you write a line of code. And we should pause on one of those pieces, the webhook.
Right.
For dynamic apps, the webhook is so important. It's basically a notification system. It connects your app to everything else. If you need to send an email after sign up or talk to a payment processor.
The webhook is the bridge.
Exactly. And understanding that is key for what the journal calls the Lego concept later on.
Okay, so the chat is step 1.
Yeah.
But the real credit saver is the little plan you make right after.
Yes. This plan becomes the single source of truth for the agent. And it needs 4 things. The more precise you are here, the less you waste.
Okay, what are they?
First, what the app does in 1 sentence. Second, what the user does to get value in like 3 to 5 steps. Third, what data you're storing, the schema, what info needs to be in the app's memory. And finally, the most critical part, who can see what? The rules.
And that clarity is the fastest way to save time and money. Because if you just say, build me a task manager, the agent gives you this generic, complex thing you have to tear apart.
Whereas a clear 4-point plan gives it the exact mental model it needs to start, including the security rules.
Let's dig into that 4th point. Who can see what? Because the journal really hammers this. It says this is where most dynamic apps just fall apart.
This is the dividing line between a demo and a product. The analogy in the journal is great. The database is the app's memory.
Okay.
And permissions are just the strict rules about who gets to see which part of that memory.
And the classic beginner mistake is just hiding stuff in the UI.
Right.
Right? Like if user A can't see user B's data on the dashboard, you think you're done.
But you've just put up a little curtain. It's not secure. If you have more than one user, you need an ironclad guarantee that user A cannot see user B's data, period.
Even if they try to get around the UI.
Right. Which means the rule has to be on the back end. At the server level, it has to be like a bank vault door, not just a hidden button.
So before we even ask the agent to build a database, we need a checklist.
A simple one. Who owns each piece of data? Does it need to be separated by team or workspace? And what can an admin see versus a regular user?
Getting that boring stuff right is what moves you into real product territory.
It's the only way to trust your own system.
Okay, so we've got the mindset, the 4-point plan, the permissions. Now we're into execution and prompt discipline.
This is where you really control your costs. The rule here is super strict. 1 prompt equals 1 function. And it has to be delivered in a working, testable state.
You're breaking it down into microtasks.
Exactly, like you're managing a junior developer. Your prompts should be sequential. First, implement sign up and log in. Protect the pages. Test it. Then, create the database model, make sure users only see their own stuff. Test it.
And so on. Add the form, list the records, test again.
Testing after every single step. It's non-negotiable because everything is connected. One change can break something somewhere else.
But sometimes, even with perfect prompts, things just get weird.
Yeah.
You get nonsense back, strange errors, and the journal reminds us it's not always our fault.
Right. These platforms have a lot of moving parts. So when the agent starts hallucinating, your first reflex shouldn't be to try the prompt again.
What should it be?
Check the platform's status page. Google lovable status or bolt.new status. See if they're having an incident. Because retrying a prompt 10 times during an outage is just...
throwing credits into a fire.
And your sanity.
So what if the platform itself just can't do what you need? Like, it's great for UIs, but terrible at sending bulk email.
That's where the Lego concept comes in. You stop trying to force one tool to do everything.
You split the system.
You split it into its core jobs. The UI, the memory, which is the database, the triggers, like automations, and then external services like email or payments.
And that's where tools like Zapier or NEAN come in.
Exactly. They handle the triggers. Other tools handle scraping or running specific AI models. Often, what feels like an impossible problem is just connecting 2 simple services together with that webhook we talked about.
Okay. So we've made the functions work, handled the failure states, locked down security. Now, finally, we can make it look good.
Now it's safe to do the UI polish. The foundation is solid. And the rule for this stage is just as rigid. From this point on, we don't change behavior. We only improve visuals.
Because even changing a color can break something, right?
It can, especially in dynamic apps. So you still do it incrementally. You improve one screen, one component at a time, and then you do that 2-minute sanity check.
Log in, create something, list it.
Every single time. It seems tedious, but it prevents hours of backtracking because you changed a button from blue to green and somehow the database timed out.
We have all been there. It's a horrible feeling.
It is. And this whole framework, it really reinforces one final powerful idea. You're the architect.
You're not just a customer giving an order.
No. You set the goal, you split the work into these small, testable chunks, and you are the final quality control. The AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but it needs your guidance.
So the core takeaway for you, listening, is that efficiency isn't just about faster code generation. It's about a better process. Focusing on function and defining those critical permission rules up front, that's what ensures you build a system that really works, instead of just a beautiful broken demo.
And you'll save a ton of credits and, frankly, a lot of sanity along the way.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, and this comes directly from the journal.
Given how fast AI can now generate a polished UI, think about how much software you see every day.
From small internal tools to huge applications.
And consider how many of them might look perfect on the surface, but are actually failing on those boring, critical back-end things, like permissions and error states.
What does that realization change about how you evaluate new software? You start to look for the cracks, the edge cases where things might break. Something to think about. Thank you for joining us. Now go forth and build robustly.